Hey, before we talk about what might happen with this offseason regarding the Phillies, let's review what happened last week. The Phil's starting pitching was very, very good against the Dodgers, but the offense, other than game three, was subpar yet again. And if I can find it here, I'm going to put up a graphic of what the big three, the guys at the top of the order, did. There it is. 1 for 12, 1 for 12, 1 for 11. Clearly not good. I know hitting a baseball isn't the easiest thing in the world, but these guys are pretty talented. They're paid well. Why does this seem to happen every October with this team?
It's so difficult to understand why the Phillies bats seemingly go cold in October every year, especially because back in 2022, they were an offensive juggernaut in that playoff run, getting to the World Series. Unfortunately, it feels like over time the Phillies lineup has gotten more reliant on the top three guys. They have become very top heavy, and when that happens and they're not hitting well, you see the offense flutter out. I think that Kyle Schwarber was the heartbeat of the Phillies offense this year, and you could see in the postseason in the game that he had 2 home runs, they won. And then the other games, he did not perform. And because of that, the rest of the team didn't follow suit. I think this was a down year for Bryce Harper overall. It just wasn't the same kind of offensive production we typically see out of him. I know he did miss some time once again with injury, but that's starting to become a yearly occurrence for him. And it just feels as though Bryce never did rise to the occasion. He had plenty of opportunities in those 4 games to really make a statement, and he was just unable to come through at any moment, really. At least Turner and Schwarber did have playoff moments. It felt like Bryce just couldn't find his. And then with Trey Turner, I think he was the best out of that group of three overall in the series, but not much better. He's a guy, obviously, he was coming off the hamstring injury. He missed the last few weeks of the season. So of the three, if you were going to say of any of them who was probably going to struggle, it was going to be Trey because he was out of game action for quite a bit. So it's just unfortunate that they weren't able to rise to the occasion. I think the middle tier guys, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, I think they stepped up in this series. It's something they did not do last year against the Mets. Nick Castellanos had a couple clutch doubles in the series as well. So they did their job, but the top three guys did not. And that's why they're sitting at home watching.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Matt, I think we know changes are coming. We're not sure what's coming. I saw an interview the other day, and it said that Castellanos probably would not be back. Good chance of trading Alec Boehm. Brandon Marsh could possibly be back. We're going to bring in Justin Crawford with 0 big league at bats, and Andrew Painter, who hasn't thrown a pitch. Getting rid of those guys, to me, doesn't make you better. What are you going to replace them with unless you go out and make a big hit in the free agent market, and you still have the same big three that aren't getting it done?
Yeah, everybody has a lot of ideas of what the Phillies could do this offseason, and a lot of them typically start with getting rid of guys that are on the team. But I think people forget this is a 96-win baseball team.
Yep.
They were the second best team in Major League Baseball this year. They won the National League East, 2 years in a row. They've made the playoffs 4 years in a row. This is a very good team, and I understand the frustration of them not pulling through in the playoffs. But I don't think anybody's pulling through in the playoffs right now against the Dodgers. They've won all 6 of their games so far. They are a tremendous team. It happens. And I don't think you can necessarily measure success based on one series in the postseason. So, yeah, it's popular to want to get rid of some guys, but you're right. The upgrades that are out there aren't that much better. There's reasons why these players are hitting the free agent market and are not under long-term contracts. A few guys are ready for their big payday. Other guys are looking for their final payday. So, sure, you can mix some guys in and out, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to be much better. And honestly, the guys that are out there in the free agent market are older, so injuries are a little bit more of a risk. You don't know how well they're going to fit in with this clubhouse, and because of that, there's a lot of unknown variables. So I think the guys that you have on the team, they need to step up, obviously, and yes, they need to make some changes. But overall, I think the majority of the same team is going to be coming back in 2026, whether fans like it or not.
Well, by the way, the Athletics' Jason Stark was on 97.5 yesterday, and he was asked what he expected the Phillies to do over the next few months, and he's pretty sure there will be several moves made.
I think it's possible there are some changes coming in the coaching staff. That'll be very interesting. I can't see Nick Castellanos returning. I think they'll make a big effort to trade Alec Boehm a year out from free agency. Does it get bigger than that? It might. Dave knows he can't bring this group back intact. And so he will be bold, and that could mean anything.
Okay, so Matt, I have the list of some of the Phillies free agents right here and what the spot track market values are, according to them, for these free agents. Ranger Suarez, 6 years, 160 million. He's pretty much gone. We know that. But man, if you can get Kyle Schwarber for under 100 million for 4 years, I would do that in a heartbeat. Bring JT back for 2 years, pretty much, 26 to 30 million. We'll take that. What do you think of these numbers, and who from that list do you think will be back with the Phillies?
Yeah, I think a few of these are pretty spot on. I think the Ranger Suarez one is pretty valid for what I expect him to make this season. And yeah, I think he has made his last outing with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think that number for Schwarber is definitely on the lower end of things. He has to clear the $100 million mark, in my opinion, after the season he just had. I think the Real Muto one's fair. I do think Bader will probably make closer to 30 to 40 million than 20 based on his performance, especially with the Phillies this year. And I think the marks for Kepler, Robertson are a little high, and Romano seems just about right. If he even gets a major league guaranteed contract, he might be a guy who gets offered a minor league option with a camp invite for a chance to earn a spot on the roster.
So do you think Schwarber and Real Muto are most likely to be back on that list, from that list?
I would say so. It feels as though they're going to do whatever it takes to bring back Kyle Schwarber. And I think that JT Realmuto, I don't really expect there to be a large market on him. He's getting up there in age. I think he understands at this point in his career. He wants familiarity and I think he wants to finish things out with the Phillies. So I would expect there to be a team friendlier deal that Realmuto signs. Maybe it takes an extra year to get it done. So maybe 3 years for Realmuto. He's currently making, I believe, $23 million a season. So that's definitely going to come down. So in a way, they're going to probably bring back their same catcher at a discounted rate, which is beneficial to them to use that money to go out and spend it on other guys. So I think those two guys will be back. I think Realmuto is the safest bet only because he is a little bit cheaper, and they really do not have any other options for catcher. You can make up, the Kyle Schwarber at bats at DH or maybe in the outfield, but it'd be hard pressed to see how you're going to replace JT Realmuto.
Well, the numbers you put up there, Chet, for Kyle Schwarber are a lot lower than what I've been hearing. I've been hearing he wants 5 years at 150.
Saw that yesterday. Yes.
That's 30 million a year for 5. He's 33, becomes 38. Man,
he's a DH. So yeah.
I get it. I get it that you can't let him walk, but I also get you don't want a 38-year-old guy with a $30 million anchor around his neck that can't play.
I agree. That's his asking rate allegedly, but he's not going to get 30 million a year for 5 years, in my view.
Yeah, I can't see that happening unless a team goes out there and really jumps the shark and misreads the market. Maybe if anybody's going to pay that, it might be the Texas Rangers, who have had rumored interest in Schwarber. They're a team that's missed the playoffs the last couple years after winning the World Series, and they have deep pockets. So if there was going to be a team that did it, I think Texas might be that option. But I can't see Schwarber getting anywhere close to 150 million.
Cincinnati supposedly is all in,
sure.
Right? They're pushing everything in supposedly for him.
Yeah, I just don't think Cincinnati has the money to go out there and compete with the Texas, with the Phillies. I would not be shocked if the Yankees got into the Kyle Schwarber market. So there's going to be some big players in for Kyle.
Well, Matt, Bill mentioned some of these guys, the Phil's young prospects. A lot of people want to see them called up right away, as Bill alluded to. To your knowledge, what is the MLB readiness of these top prospects? Justin Crawford, Aiden Miller, and Andrew Painter. The latter of two had kind of mediocre years in AAA, to be honest. Which of any of these guys, might be on the 2026 roster?
So assuming Dave Dombrowski does not go out and trade these prospects this offseason in a big splash deal, I think Justin Crawford is probably your starting left fielder come opening day of 2026. I think he was ready to go this season in the minor leagues, but I felt as though the Phillies wanted to go with a more veteran presence for the postseason. Crawford hit well over 300 in his time with AAA. He was swiping a lot of bases. I think he's ready to go. I know he projects more as a left fielder in the big leagues than a center fielder, but overall, I think he has a spot come opening day. And I think the only reason that he didn't come up was for that veteran presence in the postseason, and he did suffer concussion late in the year that kind of knocked him out. Maybe you could have seen him get called up for the postseason as an extra guy, as a base runner, or maybe in the role that they envisioned Johan Rojas having before he got hurt. But I do think Crawford's ready to go. I also think Andrew Painter's ready to go. Command is the last thing that comes back after Tommy John surgery, and the command was what Andrew Painter was struggling with this year in the minor leagues. His velocity was back. I think his movement was pretty sharp, but his command just wasn't there. And because of that, He allowed more home runs than he's ever allowed. He was allowing, he was allowing teams to hit him a little harder than he's ever been hit in his professional career. I just think it was just time. And I think the Phillies played it right by not calling him up too early, allowing him to fail, for lack of a better word, in the minor leagues. And I think this is the first normal offseason Painter's going to have in quite some time because of the surgery and the rehab. He pitched in the fall league last winter. So this is finally going to be a time for him to rest and head into spring training after his offseason program with a chance to win a spot. So I think Andrew Painter will also be on the Phillies come opening day. And then I think Aiden Miller is about a year away, if I had to guess, from coming up to the big leagues. He just got up to AAA towards the end of this past season. When Miller has been called up to the different levels, he struggled initially, but then once he's gets his timing down, once he gets familiar with the pitching a little bit more, he catches fire. So I expect him to start the year out in AAA, and I would imagine he's there for most of the season. If he's hitting well, I don't think the Phillies would hesitate to call him up, but I just don't think he's in their immediate plans for 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chet, you mentioned in your earlier chart up there about Ranger Suarez, and that's a lot of money. But are you willing to just walk away from that deal? Zach Wheeler, maybe Matt more than I do, whether he's going to be back and be able to be 100%. He's already mentioned retirement in 27. So if you only have one more year of Wheeler, do you let a guy like Suarez go away? Because now I'll go with Suarez was in the ace category. He was in the top of the rotation. If you lose Wheeler and Suarez, are you okay?
The starting rotation is definitely the Phillies' strength, and we saw that in the postseason. Sanchez was phenomenal. Jesus Luzardo was phenomenal. And Aaron Nola, I know he had a really, really rough year, and this was definitely the worst year of his career. But I think Aaron Nola was getting back to what he was. I just think this was a lost season for him. So you have those three guys you're going to pencil in regardless. Taijuan Walker is still under contract for next year. He is an option. And again, Andrew Painter would be an option as well. I think Zach Wheeler is going to be back earlier than maybe people expected. I think maybe late May, early June for him to return to the Phillies. They're definitely going to play it carefully. It's obviously a very serious, injury that he suffered. So they're not going to rush him by any means. But I think knowing Zach Wheeler and the competitor that he is, he's not going to go out without taking the mound at least one more time, in my opinion. So I think he's going to do everything he can to get back and ready to go for this upcoming season. He might delay his start a little bit, but overall, I think Wheeler's going to factor in for 2026 and 2027, assuming he stays healthy. So I think this is an area, while Ranger Suarez is a great pitcher, this is an area of strength for the Phillies. You have to, spread your money around a little bit. You already have Wheeler, Nola, and Sanchez under contract for a while. Obviously Painter's under a team-friendly deal for the next 6 years, assuming he makes his debut. So I just think, unfortunately, Ranger Suarez is just the odd man out at this point for the Phillies.
Well, Matt, it's going to depend, of course, on who they do bring back from that free agent list. But some of the other big names that are out there, Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, Kyle Tucker, as you mentioned, some of them are, getting up there in years. Any of those guys you think the Phillies might be especially interested in?
I think if they don't bring back Kyle Schwarber, I think Cody Bellinger would be a really great option for this team. He could play center field. You could put him in the corner outfield spots. You could always slide him in at first base in a pinch, but I think he's more of an outfielder at this point. He doesn't strike out a lot as well. He's got great power, and I think he could slide into any spot at the lineup. Now, I know the Phillies desperately need a right-handed hitter. Schwarber being a lefty, Harper being lefty, I think hurt their lineup construction a little bit because they just did not have that big right-handed power bat that a lot of great teams would have to balance out that lineup. And obviously Bellinger's a lefty. So if he replaces Schwarber, the 1-for-1 lefty swap, not a big deal. But if they're adding, in a sense, Schwarber and Bellinger, well, now you're kind of loading up on the lefties again. So, but I just think that Bellinger offers a little bit more than an Alonso, who would probably have to DH for the Phillies. I think you keep Bryce Harper at first base if you have the both of them. I realistically do not see Harper sliding to the outfield to allow Alonso to play first. I know he said that he would do it. I just think he was trying to be a team player in that aspect. I just don't see the Phillies moving him out there because he's already banged up enough as it is. And I just think first base allows him to not go as hard as Bryce Harper typically does. Because I think we all know if he goes back to the outfield, he's going to be making diving plays, probably run into the wall a couple times. He's going to put his body on the line. And I just think the Phillies don't want to risk that.
Matt, on Ruben Amaro on his radio show the other day, he talked about the possibility of Dave Dombrowski swinging for the fences and moving one of the big three. if the right situation came. You see that happening?
I really don't. I mean, I don't. You're certainly not getting rid of Harper, and you're certainly not getting rid of Trey Turner. So I know there's talk maybe Aaron Nola gets moved, but I mean, you're trading Nola at his lowest if you do move on from him,
Right.
and I think he's just better than what you're going to get in return. Especially because he's coming off the bad season and he has the contract, so teams aren't going to want to give you anything, in my opinion, for him of any significant value. And I would bet on his bounce back more than, this being who Aaron Nola is at this point. I just don't realistically see how they can move off some of these big deals. Teams aren't really open to taking contracts like they used to be, and the Phillies would have to eat some of the money to move on from a player. And I don't think it makes sense to retain salary just to move off of a guy, I think this is a talented group. And while, yes, they need to switch things up and they need to make upgrades, I just don't see how any of those big pieces are moved. And I think they're probably going to be part of the Phillies lineup and rotation moving forward.
Matt, last Phillies question from me. I'm surprised Bill hasn't brought this up earlier. The manager, Rob Thompson. Bill is not a huge fan.
I'm trying to forget about it.
I kind of remember Bill saying a couple of years ago, Phillies will never win a World Series with Rob Thompson as manager.
Bill ain't lying.
What is your take on Thompson, and did they make the right move bringing him back, Matt?
I think that they did make the right move by bringing Rob Thompson back for the 2026 season. I wouldn't necessarily commit to him any further than that. He is on the last year of his contract, so it'll be interesting to see if they do extend him or if he will be a lame duck manager heading into the season. They won 96 games this year. They've gotten better every regular season under Thompson, which I think is more of an indication of his influence on the clubhouse than just the playoffs, because I know that they've regressed every year in the playoffs under him.
Yeah.
But he wins a lot of games. The guys love playing for him. And I know on the outside, a lot of people want him to be more emotional, be a little bit more Larry Boa-esque, where he gets in players' faces and calls them out. But that's just not who he is. And I don't think that style of managing really plays in professional sports these days. I know it's disappointing that they got eliminated in the first round. And I do think that Rob Thompson could have managed a little bit better in this postseason. But at the end of the day, I think if his top three hitters had done anything in this series, they're probably playing the Milwaukee Brewers right now, because his pitching did a good job and his bullpen wasn't great, but it was good enough, in my opinion, if the offense was producing. So I think Thompson gets one more year to try and get it done. And if he doesn't get it done in 2026, I think he would retire before they quote unquote got rid of him. But I do think that he has one more year, and if they start off slow, you could potentially see him get moved. The Phillies move off of him early. But I think Thompson's the right guy for next season, and we'll see how it goes.
All right.
We will just have to disagree. They got better. I agree. They got better record because the Sanchez got better and Luzardo got better. It became stud pitchers. So, if you look at the eight regulars, I'm not sure how much better they got. Anyway,
one final question. Give him one final question. Go ahead.
Which one?
Anyone at all.
Oh, I was just going to ask him to let everyone know where they can follow him and his Phillies coverage.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So all of my content can be seen at Metro Philadelphia and Philly Sports Network. You can follow me at all of my handles on all social media at Matt Watson Media. And I can tease a little bit that Metro Philadelphia and Philly Sports Network have something new coming out in the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. I think it's a massive upgrade to our coverage. We do cover all of the big five sports teams in the city. So yeah, you can find me at Matt Watson Media on all platforms and Metro Philly Sports Network.